Stop exactly where you are. Do not scroll away. Do not click to the next page, and do not let your restless mind wander for these next few moments. I need you to anchor yourself right here, right now. You might naturally assume that a digital algorithm brought this to your screen. You might believe that it was just a random sequence of daily habits, a lucky swipe, or a mere mathematical coincidence of timing that put these exact words in front of you today. But I need you to erase that thought entirely. This did not reach you by accident, and it was not delivered by chance. There is zero randomness in this specific encounter. This message was routed directly into your path, arriving at the exact hour and minute you were meant to receive it, because you have finally reached a psychological and spiritual tipping point that you can no longer ignore. I am speaking directly to you, the exhausted seeker, the one who is tired in a fundamental way that 10 hours of sleep cannot possibly fix. You, the meticulous architect of your own life who has planned, built, and disciplined yourself, only to find the most important doors still stubbornly locked. I see you. You have been running on an endless treadmill of sheer human effort, pushing against invisible barriers with a clenched jaw, rigid shoulders, and white knuckles, silently wondering when it will finally be your turn to step into the clearing. Take a slow, deep breath, and let the gravity of this truth settle deeply into your bones. You are not hearing this because you are failing. You are hearing this because you are finally ready to be awakened. You have spent years treating your journey like a complicated mechanism that you simply had to force into motion, believing that if you just pushed a little harder, sacrificed a little more, or analyzed the problem a little longer, the pieces would eventually fit. But that heavy, suffocating friction you feel in your chest right now, that deep burnout, that is not a signal to try harder. That is the quiet intelligence of life itself, pulling the emergency brake on your behalf. You are the chosen witness for what happens next. The exhausting era of your desperate, forced striving ends today. Do not look away. The shift is already in motion. Let us strip away the polite illusions and talk directly about the loop. The endless, grinding cycle you have been trapped in for longer than you care to admit. You are not lazy. In fact, you are the exact opposite. If sheer willpower were the currency of success, you would have bought your freedom a long time ago. You have done the work. You have read the texts, built the habits, visualized the outcomes, and put in the grueling, unglamorous hours when no one else was watching. You played by every rule of the modern gospel of hustle and discipline. You managed your mind, sacrificed your comfort, and carefully orchestrated every detail of your path. You took responsibility for everything. Yet, despite being the relentless architect of all this motion, the needle has not moved the way it was supposed to. The breakthrough remains just out of reach, hovering like a mirage that recedes the exact moment you step toward it. Every time you thought you finally cracked the code, the rules changed, the door slammed shut, or the finish line was moved just a few inches further away. Let us put a name to what this relentless cycle has done to you inside. I am not talking about the kind of tiredness that a long weekend or a few extra hours of sleep can cure. What you are carrying right now is a profound, silent, and crushing psychological exhaustion. It is the heavy, dull ache of a spirit that has sustained itself on deferred hope for far too long. It is the quiet, private despair of a person who has done everything right and still finds themselves staring up at a wall they cannot scale. It is the bone-deep weariness of carrying the entire weight of your destiny on your own shoulders, terrified that if you let your guard down, if you stop pushing for even a single second, the whole fragile structure of your life will collapse into dust. You have been functioning as both the engine and the fuel, and you are running on empty. And with that exhaustion comes a creeping, insidious shadow, shame. In the quiet hours of the night, Your tired mind whispers that perhaps you are the problem. Perhaps you are fundamentally flawed, not quite good enough, or maybe you simply missed your window of opportunity. You watch others seemingly glide into their blessings, their successes flowing effortlessly, while you are left charting yet another complex, desperate strategy just to survive the disappointment of another locked door. Listen to me very carefully. That shame is a liar. Your exhaustion is not a moral failing. Your inability to force this door open is not proof of your inadequacy. It is merely the inevitable byproduct of a nervous system that has been trapped in a high-alert survival mode for years, redlining its engine trying to pick a lock that was never designed for your human effort. You have exhausted yourself trying to manipulate an outcome that was never yours to control in the first place. To move forward, we must first halt this destructive momentum. I need you to make a tiny, physical commitment right now. It is a seemingly small act, but it will send a shockwave to the deepest layers of your nervous system, signaling that the era of forced striving is officially suspended. Wherever you are right now, I want you to uncross your arms, uncross your legs. Place your hands resting on your lap or by your side, with your palms facing wide open upward. Take a slow, deliberate breath in, filling your lungs entirely. Hold it. Now, as you exhale, consciously drop your shoulders away from your ears and physically release the tight, painful tension you have been holding in your jaw. Now, either in a quiet whisper or firmly within the theater of your own mind, declare these exact words: I am exhausted from forcing. I am putting down the weight. Do not rush past this moment. Stay in this open posture. Feel how terrifying, yet profoundly liberating, that admission truly is. Admitting your exhaustion does not make you weak. It is the most honest, courageous, and powerful thing you have done in years. By validating the bruised, overworked part of your soul that simply wants to lay down its heavy armor, you are not giving up. You are finally clearing the desperate static from your mind. You are emptying your hands so that they can finally receive. Let us examine the very nature of the barrier you have been throwing your life against. For years, you have operated under a deeply ingrained, almost universal assumption that every obstacle in life is simply a test of your strength, your endurance, or your intelligence. You have believed that if a door does not open, you must hit it harder. If a situation does not yield, you must apply more pressure. You have treated your breakthrough as a fortress to be conquered, a wall to be battered down by the sheer, relentless force of your human will. But what if I told you that you have profoundly misunderstood the architecture of this specific barrier? The obstacle standing between you and your breakthrough was never designed to be moved by human force. It is not a test of how much pain you can endure, nor is it a measure of your work ethic. Imagine, for a moment, a person pushing with all their might against a heavy oak door. They strain, they sweat, their muscles burn, and they collapse in frustration, cursing the door for being locked. But the door is not locked. It is simply a door that opens inward. By pushing against it, they are the very mechanism keeping it firmly shut. This is the tragic irony of your struggle. The universe, or God, or the natural flow of life, whatever name you wish to give it, has not been locking you out. Your very insistence on pushing, forcing, and controlling the outcome is the exact force keeping the door sealed. This brings us to the great behavioral paradox of trying. I want you to visualize your own nervous system and your physical posture when you are in a state of trying. When you are forcing an outcome, your entire being is clenched. You are braced for impact. You are vibrating with the frantic energy of control, gripping the steering wheel of your life so tightly that your knuckles turn white. But here is the immutable law of both physics and psychology. A clenched fist, no matter how strong, no matter how righteous, cannot receive a gift. The state of forcing and the state of receiving are two fundamentally opposite frequencies. They are mutually exclusive. They cannot coexist in the same body at the same time. When you try to seize an opportunity out of fear and desperation, the very act of seizing repels the outcome. Think of trying to catch a delicate floating leaf on the surface of a pond. The harder and faster you plunge your hand into the water to grab it, the more the violent ripples of your own effort push the leaf out of your reach. You were not failing to earn your breakthrough. With the most sincere and desperate intentions, you were actively repelling it with the dense, chaotic energy of your own striving. The universe was offering it the entire time, but your clenched, fighting posture kept knocking it away. You must realize that your frantic effort has become a liability. Your relentless need to manage every variable is no longer serving you. It is suffocating the very miracle you are praying for. So, what is the alternative? If you do not push, what do you do? Does this mean you just give up, collapse into the dirt, and surrender to apathy? Absolutely not. The ego, the frightened, controlling part of your mind, will try to convince you that if you stop pushing, you are being lazy, irresponsible, or passive. It will scream at you that stopping is failing. You must not listen to that panicked voice. There is a profound difference between passive collapse and active stillness. Passive collapse is giving up. It is turning your back, going numb, and walking away in defeat. Active stillness, however, is the most courageous, alert, and demanding posture a human being can assume. Active stillness is standing fully awake at the edge of the threshold, keeping your eyes wide open and consciously choosing to take your hands off the door. It is the profound discipline of remaining present without interfering. It is the realization that some things are simply too massive, too intricate, and too divine to be engineered by your limited human hands. To step into active stillness is to finally admit, I have done all that I can do, and I am stepping back to allow the greater mechanics of life to take over. It takes infinitely more strength to stand still and trust the unseen process than it does to keep blindly hammering at a wall. By taking your hands off the wheel, you are not abandoning the journey. You are finally moving out of the way. You are unclencing your fists, letting your palms rest open, and allowing the turbulent waters of your reality to finally settle. And only when the water is perfectly still can you finally perceive the reflection of the path that has been waiting for you all along. To truly understand how this active stillness unlocks the barrier, I need to take you away from your current life for a moment and place you inside one of the most powerful, ancient archetypes of human history. This is not just a historical or religious story. It is a blueprint of the exact psychological and spiritual trap you are currently standing in. Picture a vast, terrified multitude of people trapped at the edge of an impossible sea. Behind them, an overwhelming, ruthless army of their greatest fears, pressures, and past traumas is thundering toward them, closing the distance rapidly. In front of them lies a deep, dark, uncrossable expanse of water. There are no boats. There are no bridges. They are completely and utterly boxed in by an impossible situation that no amount of human ingenuity, strategic planning, or physical exertion can solve. Feel the absolute panic of that moment. Every single survival instinct in their nervous systems is screaming at them to do something. The striving mind demands action. Swim, fight, build a raft out of nothing. Just don't stand here. That frantic, desperate noise is the exact same noise echoing in your mind right now regarding your own insurmountable block. You feel the army of time, financial pressure, and societal expectations at your back, and you are staring at a sea that simply will not part, no matter how hard you will it to. But listen to the instruction that was given to those terrified people in the absolute climax of their despair. The voice of leadership, echoing the voice of the divine, did not say, "Work harder." It did not say, "Figure it out." It gave an instruction that defied every logical human instinct. Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation that is coming. Stand still and see. I want you to let those words echo in the empty, exhausted chambers of your mind. In the original ancient language, that word see is Ra. It means far more than just glancing at something with your physical eyes. Ra means to perceive deeply, to truly behold, to understand with sudden, shattering clarity what is actually happening in front of you. When you are frantically stirring the water, trying to build your own bridge, your vision is blinded by the chaos of your own splashing. You cannot behold anything. But when you stand perfectly still, your perception clears. And then, the impossible happened. The waters that no human hand could divide split open. A dry path appeared in the middle of an abyss, and a people who could do absolutely nothing but watch walked right through the center of an impossibility. They did not engineer the path. They did not dig the trench. They did not fight the water. They stood still. They witnessed a phenomenon entirely outside of their control, and it left them utterly speechless. This brings us to the pronghu, transformative mechanism of awe. Why is awe the only key that opens this door? Because awe is the only psychological state known to human beings that completely short-circuits the ego's demand for control. When you are confronted with something so vast, so beautiful, so incredibly far beyond your own capacity to engineer, your chattering, striving mind instantly goes silent. You do not have to force yourself to let go of the steering wheel. The sheer magnitude of what you are witnessing makes you drop it involuntarily. In a state of genuine awe, your jaw goes slack, your breathing deepens, your words disappear, and most importantly, your clenched fists organically, naturally fall open. Awe is the ultimate biological and spiritual override. It is the one human posture where the hand is fully open, not because you disciplined yourself to open it, but because you have surrendered to a force that is undeniably greater than your own. That speechlessness is not merely a side effect of the miracle, it is the exact mechanism that allows you to receive it. In the instant that awe takes your words away, it also takes away your desperate grip on the outcome. For the first time in years, you are entirely out of your own way, and this is the defining truth of your life in this exact moment. The universe is not asking you to part the sea. God is not waiting for you to become strong enough to move the unmovable block. A move is happening right now. I call it the move because it is not a slow, gradual, incremental self-improvement project. It is a decisive, monumental shift originating from a dimension of life you cannot manipulate. The very obstacle that has defined your limits for years, the block you have organized your entire identity around fighting, is being approached from a direction you cannot reach. A larger hand is stepping in to do what your tired hands never could. Your only responsibility, your one, singular, sacred job in this season, is to stop trying to do the work of the divine. You are being invited to take your seat in the front row of your own life. You must become quiet enough to perceive it. You must clear the fog of your own relentless forcing, so that when the waters begin to shift, you do not walk right past it, blindly looking for another wall to push against. The move is in motion. It is vast, it is quiet, and it is going to leave you entirely speechless. Your only task now is to stand still, let the awe wash over you, and finally behold the path opening up exactly where you thought the journey had ended. I know exactly what the logical, analytical part of your mind is doing right now. As you listen to the truth about active stillness and the parting of the sea, a profound sense of relief likely washed over you. You felt your shoulders drop. You felt the truth of it in your chest. But lurking just beneath that relief is a very practical, very quiet skepticism. You are asking yourself the most honest question of this entire journey. If letting go is the answer, why have I never been able to do it? Why, when I have resolved 100 times to surrender, to trust, and to stop forcing, do I find my hands white-knuckled and gripping the steering wheel again just a few hours later? You must listen to me very carefully, because what I am about to tell you will absolve you of years of guilt. Your inability to stay still is not a lack of faith, it is not a weakness in your character, and it is certainly not a failure of your willpower. The reason you keep striving right through your own miracle is due to a purely mechanical, neurological bottleneck. To understand why you cannot simply decide to let go, you have to understand the architecture of your own mind. Imagine your brain as a house with multiple levels. Your conscious mind, the part of you that sets goals, reads self-help books, and makes the noble decision to finally surrender, lives on the top floor. It is rational, it is articulate, and it understands exactly what you should do. But the compulsion to control, the desperate urge to force outcomes, and the primal fear of not being in charge, those do not live on the top floor. They live in the basement. They reside in the oldest, deepest layers of your nervous system, the survival brain. When you make the decision to be still, that instruction is broadcast on the top floor, but your resolve almost never reaches the basement. It holds for an hour, maybe a day, and then the deeper survival reflex, terrified by the vulnerability of not being in control, overrides your conscious decision. The alarm bells ring, the cortisol floods your system, and you are right back to pushing, planning, and stressing right on schedule. This is where the science of human behavior intercepts the spiritual concept of surrender. Neurologists have known for decades that the human brain operates in hemispheres, each holding entirely different functions and requiring a delicate, synchronized rhythm to function optimally. One side of your neural network is designed for driving, analyzing, protecting, and surviving. The other side is designed for resting, perceiving, healing, and experiencing awe. Here is the tragedy of the modern striver. Years of chronic stress, endless forcing, and the relentless pressure you have put yourself under have caused these two halves to fall completely out of rhythm. Your nervous system has become profoundly desynchronized. When your brain loses its natural sync, the driving, survival half runs completely unchecked. It becomes hyper-dominant. In this desynchronized state, your nervous system literally perceives stillness as a threat. When you try to sit quietly and do nothing, your survival brain panics. It feels like you are dropping your weapon in the middle of a battlefield. This is why traditional advice like just take a deep breath, think positive, or try meditating feels like absolute torture to a chronically exhausted overachiever. You are trying to use top-floor logic to soothe a basement-level neurological panic. You cannot outthink a dysregulated nervous system. You cannot use the frantic, striving mind to quiet the frantic, striving mind. It is like trying to smooth the surface of a pond by aggressively ironing the water with your hands. The effort itself creates more chaos. If knowing were enough, you would have rested years ago. Some part of you has always known the pushing wasn't working. The missing piece was never more willpower. The missing piece was never a stronger desire to relax. The missing piece is a tangible way to reach the floor where the striving actually lives. You need a mechanism to bypass the noisy, analytical top floor of your mind and speak directly to the basement in the exact language the nervous system understands: frequency and rhythm. You do not need to try harder to be still. You need to restore the interrupted rhythm between the two halves of your brain. When that neurological sync is re-established, the driving reflex quiets entirely on its own. The compulsion to grab the wheel dissolves without a fight. Stillness stops being a miserable battle of willpower that you inevitably lose, and finally becomes your natural resting state. And it is only from that baseline of deep, unforced neurological calm that you can maintain the posture of the witness. It is only then that you can stand at the edge of your sea, completely at peace, and behold the move that is coming toward you. The question is no longer how to force yourself to surrender. The question is how to safely and effortlessly reset the rhythm of your mind, so that surrender happens organically. And that brings us to the exact threshold of the solution. Let me be entirely transparent with you before we go any further. What I am about to place in your hands is not for everyone, and I say that with absolute sincerity. If you are someone who still wears your stress as a badge of honor, if you are secretly addicted to the chaotic adrenaline of always being busy, or if you firmly believe that this restless anxiety is simply your permanent personality, you should close this message right now. This is not for you. But if your soul ached with profound recognition during these last few minutes, if you are finally, truly tired of forcing doors that will not budge, and you are ready to trade your exhaustion for genuine peace, then pay very close attention to what comes next. We have established the critical need to synchronize the two hemispheres of your brain. To answer this need, a brilliant neurologist named Dr. Daniel Barron developed a highly specific 8-minute sequence of engineered sound. It utilizes advanced neural sync technology designed to gently guide those two halves back into perfect rhythm. It is called the Genius Switch. I want to be clear, this is not another generic meditation app. This is not a track of basic binaural beats or standard brain waves that you have tried and abandoned in the past. This is whole brain activation that works entirely beneath your conscious awareness. For 8 minutes a day, you simply put on a pair of headphones, close your eyes, and do absolutely nothing. You do not strive, you do not push. You let the audio technology do the heavy lifting, restoring the stillness at the very root of your nervous system. The professionals who initially reviewed this protocol suggested it should be priced at $500. And honestly, considering the immense physical, emotional, and spiritual cost of living a life trapped in constant, agonizing friction, that is a fraction of its true value. However, the purpose of this message is to remove barriers, not build new ones. It was initially listed at $49, but on the secure page I am directing you to, it has been reduced to just $39. That is less than what most people spend on a single, forgettable dinner exchanged for the ability to finally let your mind rest. To ensure you have every tool necessary to protect this new state of being, it also comes accompanied by 4 vital gifts: a top-tier guided visualization, a practical guide to everyday foods that trigger neurological fog, a century-old foundational manifestation text, and a simple map of 5 habits to anchor your new reality. I want to remove the absolute last trace of your striving mind's resistance. This comes with a complete, unconditional money-back guarantee. If the profound stillness does not reach you, if your desperate grip does not finally loosen, you are out absolutely nothing. That is not a marketing tactic. That is the confident posture of creators who have watched this exact mechanism quiet the restlessness of over 18,000 ordinary individuals. If your deep intuition is telling you right now that this is the missing piece you have been searching for, do not let your panicked, controlling ego talk you out of it tomorrow morning. The link to this exact page is resting quietly in the description and the pinned comment below. Go there right now. While this clarity is still warm in your chest, do not force it. Simply let the stillness you are feeling in this exact moment carry you to the action it is pointing toward. Let us seal this moment. I do not want you to leave this space and step back into the frantic noise of your daily life without firmly anchoring what has just happened here. Take one final moment to simply witness the profound psychological and spiritual shift you have just made. You arrived at this message exhausted from forcing, weighed down by the silent, heavy shame that you could not push your breakthrough into existence. And you are leaving with the liberating, unquestionable truth that it was never yours to force in the first place. Before you close this screen, I want you to perform one last, physical act of release. Close your eyes for just a few seconds. Gather up every single year you spent pushing against a locked door. Gather every ounce of desperate effort, every meticulously failed plan, and every sleepless night you spent agonizing over how to fix what was not working. Imagine all of that heavy, chaotic energy resting in your open hands. Now, take the deepest, slowest breath you have taken all day, and as you exhale, let it all fall. Drop it. You do not need to carry the forcing anymore. Leave it right here on the ground, and let it stay there, in the quiet, expansive space that it leaves behind. I want you to hear exactly who you are now. You are no longer the exhausted striver, drowning in your own desperate effort. You are not the architect of the sea. You are the witness standing on the shore. You are the one who is finally still enough, finally clear enough, to watch the waters part. Let the physical warmth of your own open hands be your permanent anchor. Tomorrow, when the old survival reflex inevitably spikes, when your mind panics and your hands instinctively try to clench back around the steering wheel, your body will remember this exact moment. You will take a slow breath. You will consciously open your palms, and you will silently declare to yourself, "I am watching, not working." The forcing is over. Do not trade this profound, open-handed stillness back for the exhausting, painful illusion of control. The move is already underway. It is quiet, it is undeniable, and it is going to leave you completely speechless. Go now, while the stillness is warm. Step into the rhythm, trust the clearing of your perception, and take your rightful seat in the front row of your own life. The striving is done. It is time to behold.